It's Tuesday. All right. Welcome to Tuesday. Welcome to Eight Questions with. Um, yeah. Hi. Hi, Echo. Hi, Jamie. Um, so welcome to another week. Hi, Jaden. How are you, sir? Um, hey, Bud. The Buds are here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll definitely be taking a. Oh, holy crow! Look who's here. Camp Crystal, Mike. What's up? Camp Crystal Lake 6 in the house. Oh, good, good. So we are having a singer tonight. We're interviewing the singer known as Emotion. He is a singer-songwriter. He plays soul music, smooth jazz, soft pop. So I'm really excited about that. Hi, Echo. So I'm pretty excited about this because this is like our third dedicated singer. Like we've had Emiko was on earlier. We've had film composers on as well. Mariano Solinger was on. Steve Hartzell's been on twice. Um, I really like the idea of bringing some more singers into it. What's really tough about that, and this is the problem with that, is and me and Emotion, we had to talk about this. Um, you want to have people come on and play live, and the fact of the matter is, it's awesome, but you got to be real careful about it because he mentioned to me when I he's going to come on and he's going to sing some songs on my channel tonight. That might get me a like a ding from YouTube because it's like, well, like they might send me an email or something like that. And he says, well, most of the time they send it to him, saying we detected someone singing your music on that channel. What do you want to do about it? And he says he ignores it. So like it's fine. Wow, that was fast. He is here early. All right. So we're gonna hit this running hard. Uh, so let me go get him, and then we'll get the show started.
Hello, hello,
Ta-da!
hello. How are we doing today?
Hello, hello.
All right.
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Awesome,
We
awesome.
got a few heads. Yeah, I was just telling him about like we've been having more. I've been thinking about having more singers on, but you and I talked about this earlier about you're coming on, you're singing your original music, and YouTube might ping me or send you a letter saying that, hey, your music got played on this channel, and how do you want to handle it?
Right.
Um, Now, would this be the first time that you have performed on another channel?
Oh no, sir. I do that quite often, and that's why I try to give you that heads up. And I think it's because it's an official artist page. I think that makes it a little different there, because I have a music distributor who actually puts this out on different platforms, and
Okay.
so they kind of track that.
So if a channel like myself has you on a guest, uh, is there anything that we should do, so we don't get discouraged from doing it? Is there anything that we need to do when, like, to protect ourselves? I mean, you said YouTube will email us. What are we, what do we do? Do we just sit there and say he gave us permission, or?
Well, yeah, they give you an opportunity to dispute it. So if you go into dispute, and you can actually say that I was actually on your channel performing my own original content, because that's what I'll tell them, and I never had a problem with them releasing that.
Okay.
And it's not a strike, so it's not nothing harsh, but it's a claim. It's just saying that that it's doing that for me, for my protection. It's saying that somebody is playing my music without rights to my music. So you know
I'm totally about that. I have no problem at all with this. I mean, it didn't, didn't. The only thing I knew that it would that probably wouldn't work if we did covers. That's something we can't do because basically you and I we don't have the rights to that.
right.
But
Well,
honestly, but
there's an actual there's I can actually I can actually do covers. The most of the time if I do a cover, I just have to share the revenue with the artist. But
right.
I don't get strikes for that. But they will send me something say that the revenue is being shared with the original content owner.
I hope you know what I mean without getting into specifics, but I do hope that you are making some money off the tube for your music.
I am, man. I can't quit my daytime job. At this point,
Yeah,
I'd love to get to that point to where I can do this full time because I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy writing. Sometimes I'll go into my studio and I'll close the door. It's 6 p.m. and here it is. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I say, well, dang, I got to go to work tomorrow. And I just kind of get lost in it sometimes because it's kind of like my oasis.
yeah, I can yeah definitely can sense that. Definitely can sense that. We got a few people in the house here. We'll make some. We'll just chatter around a little bit.
Okay.
Till 8 o'clock or so, and then we'll get this party started.
All right.
Um,
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
uh, yeah, you and I were talking about one thing, and we can talk about that a little bit now too, because you and I were talking about promoting, and we've been around long enough to know that how it was in the old days. We go out there and pass out flyers and post flyers up in windows and all
Right.
that other
Yes, sir.
man. I remember mailing lists.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes,
E-
sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I still think an email list. I don't know if it's still effective or not.
Right. I'm not sure. I've never tried that. But I definitely need to get better at the marketing side of the business. I'm just so involved in the writing because sometimes if I write a tune, and that's why I believe my channel struggled a lot at first. Because I couldn't put content out like every week. Because sometimes it'll take me 2 or 3 weeks to come up with something. I hear it in my head, but to get to the finished product, it could be 3 weeks to a month, sometimes longer than that. Depends on how complex I want to get with it. So it's not like I can just think of something and say, okay, well, I'm gonna post that tomorrow. So it's a whole process that I have to go through to get it to the point to where you guys hear it.
Uh, yeah, because I mean, it's such a crowded field. I mean, man, promotion has never been an easy game. It never has been an easy game for the independent artist.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it really, it's been a fur fight all the way through. I mean, you have to get out there, and it's hard. It was hard to, back then when radio was king. Um, it was next to impossible for an artist to get any airtime on radio.
Right.
Um, I was thinking to myself, like, how it sucked that a lot of alternative and punk rock bands would only get like an hour's worth of music on a radio station. It'd be
Right.
Sunday night at midnight, and here's our latest from our alternative band, and it's like I used to think that was like just like the worst.
Right. Yes,
But
sir.
the more I stayed into the business, the more I found out that it could get worse, like getting your music played on a soul station or a soft jazz station.
Yeah. Yeah.
Locals never got it on station radio
It's,
station.
It is crazy. I had one tune. Actually, I was playing trumpet, and it's actually an instrumental. That got played on the Quiet Storm. And it was on there for I don't know, probably about 8 months, and it was kind of like their intro music into the show. So I was pretty proud of that deal. But I hadn't landed anything like that here recently. Probably the last 5 or 6 years. Because I kind of walked away from it all for a while. I just got life just started happening. I had so many other things going on. Then I really didn't get really serious into YouTube again until around December of last year, going into this year. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that at that point I had like 200 subscribers. And I just started hammering out some tunes. And that's like I was determined to make it to get at least to that monetized level, of the 1,000 subscribers, so I was very fortunate to get that, and I was probably monetized by March, but it's still, that's just the beginning. It's still a lot of work. YouTube is actually, if you want to be successful at it, it can be a full-time job.
Yeah.
So, you just have to be dedicated to it, and you'll grow. It's just, sometimes, I just get frustrated when I look at the numbers, and I'm thinking, not thinking that I'm better than anyone else, but sometimes I just believe that, that my channel could be doing a whole lot better, but I just hadn't figured out the formula to get it there yet.
Yeah, I was talking about that with another tuber, and like, I'm mostly I do interviews, and I do a few movie reviews, but him and I were talking about that too, and we're off the beaten track, as far as what content we put out. I mean, I don't know anybody that does what I'm doing at the level I'm doing it. I've seen people do interview shows. There's other interview shows out there,
Right,
but nothing doing like 3 a week or 4 a week, sometimes even 5 a week.
right.
And it's I'm hoping that it gets better. I'm hoping that anybody that's here, like Tina Marie, that wants to sub to my channel. See how smooth I was there. That's right.
I, Actually, no, Tina. Hello, Tina. I can't see you in the chat, but hello. How you doing? Yes, sir.
Uh, uh, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you though. It's a fur fight. You and I met you through, like many of us have, through Kevin.
Right.
Uh,
Yes, sir. Yes,
through,
sir.
yeah,
Well,
through Tuber Chat.
I tell you, man, I got so frustrated, and this is, I joined Tuber Chat, I think it's around December, but, I did so many searches, just like, a lot of other young, upcoming YouTubers, that's doing content, so many churches, searches, on try to how, on how to grow your channel, and it's just so much information out there that you get lost in all of that stuff. And then, and the way that some of those channels connect, I'm not saying anything bad about them, but sometimes, they'll connect and you'll never see those guys again, or you'll lose that subscription, the next couple of days or something like that. So, fortunately enough, that channel, that Tuber Chat, and I'm not trying to get about any plugs, but it's the truth, you
Oh,
know,
you can plug him up all you want. I plug him up.
yeah.
He's helped my channel more than anybody else.
Yeah, so so I go in there, and there's actually some guys in there that really care about, not only what you're doing, about what I'm sorry, not only what they're doing, but they want to see you be successful and help
Yeah.
you grow too. So that's pretty awesome that you meet those kind of guys in there.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. I just I love the fact that like this is my first creators month. I've never done a 100% creators month,
Okay,
and this is it. Well, for a couple, except for a couple, I put in, but I enjoy it. I've decided that from going forward, I'm gonna start doing it. I'm gonna do at least 3 creators every month. Because the way I look at it is I'm giving back, because a lot of people have helped me to get where I'm at now. Now I might not be all that, and I certainly ain't, but I would be off a lot worse if I hadn't had the support that I did get.
right, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
like there's Pete here, Moon over Miami's here, Jamie's here. I mean, they're all coming up here to support you, and that's just the in and I know most of these folks. Moon over Miami, I know Pete. They're all coming in, and they're all supporting. They're supporting us both. And the
Right.
way I look at it is, the way I look at it is, give it back.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Those are some, like I said, those are some great guys. See Mr. Scratch. I see people speaking to Mr. Pete. Hello, Mr. Pete. I see, cooking with Miss Brown. Moon over Miami. Jamie Hart. So I said
Yeah.
Echo. Some of these guys I don't know. But I'd like to get to know these guys. And it's a pleasure to meeting all you guys. And I'm hoping that, we can become friends, kind of hang out and support each other, because that's the way we need to grow. We need to support one another, and we'll all grow together.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's another musician has walked in. David's from David's Horror. He's also a musician. Jamie Hart is a vocalist.
Okay,
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, Jamie can sing. She's she's got some pipes. She's got a really sweet voice.
All right.
Um, you know who has a really good voice too. I bet you probably didn't know this,
Who's
but
that?
our girl Tiffany from Tiffany Wears T-shirts.
Oh, really? Okay. I've never
Yeah.
heard her sing.
I hadn't until recently, and I was like, I was blown away.
Right.
Uh, Jamie, I was like, holy cow! There's a lot of talent on the tube.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, music, and when I was putting my channel together, and I was trying to search, just kind of figure out, how can I, promote my channel, because I couldn't really find a lot of musicians out there that were doing it, that were doing it successfully, and it was just something, and like I said, I did a lot of YouTube searches, which is kind of funny. I'm in YouTube and I'm searching their content on how to get better at YouTube, and like I said, you can get lost in all that information. Some of it I think is good, some of it, I think as a concrete content creator, they put that stuff together to get the views, and which they do. But I don't think I have to take some of that information with a grain of salt, because
Yeah,
like we're talking, your channel and my channel, we're a little different from the the normal, I guess, YouTuber, I guess, as content, as far as what you do, and as far as what I do, and like the Jamies and the Davids of the world, we're doing something a little different, so it's kind of hard to find, there's not a cookie cutter approach to it anyway, but it's
no.
kind of hard to find the information that you feel is really going to help you move forward.
I mean, you could. I mean, you could go back and do whatever all the popular tubers are doing, right? You could go back there and keep mentioning keywords over and over and over and get into the algorithm. You could do that, but then you wouldn't be yourself. Hi, Jamie. Jamie. Oh, there's our friend Jamie from Jamie and Crystal. They were on last week. Had a kick-ass show.
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to say hi. Wow, you know what? We're talking like this, but you know what we're gonna do? Why I say hi to Jamie? I'm gonna turn this. I'm gonna turn this over to you and let you kick down a couple of your songs to get us started, and then we'll get into the interview.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna do a little intro, and then I'm gonna do a tune, and then I think it might be a good place to start. Let me make sure I got everything queued up here, and I do. And while we're doing that too, I'm gonna grab a towel,
Okay.
because I have the world's worst allergies here in Baltimore. I've never been this bad until I got up here, So I'm just kind of stuffed up, but I think I can make it happen though. All right, so we ready to roll?
We're ready to roll.
All right, here we go. Emotion, 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 emotion. Where is emotion? Emotion. Where is emotion? My mind is playing tricks on me. It wants me to believe in you and me. But my heart, as pure as it can be, know that there's no chance for you and me. And those eyes tell a different story. If I can hang on, then I can see that at times things they couldn't be. will somehow come true for you and me. And my mind is playing tricks on me. Show me the love I need to see. And my mind is playing tricks on me. Show me the love I need to see. Do-dee-dee-doo. Ba-dee-doo. Do-dee-dee-doo. Ba-dee-doo. My mind is playing tricks on me. It wants me to believe in you and me. But my heart, as pure as it can be, know that there's no chance for you and me. And those eyes tell a different story. If I can hang on and I can see that in time, things they couldn't be will somehow come true for you and me. And my mind is playing tricks on me. There's something that I need to see. And my mind is playing tricks on me. Show me the love I need to see. And my mind is playing tricks on me. Show me the love I need to see. And my mind is playing tricks on me. Something that I need to see. Ba-dee-dee-doo. Ba-dee-doo. Ba-dee-dee-doo. Ba-dee-doo. All right, that was My Mind is Playing Tricks on Me.
Nice, man. That's smooth.
All
That's
right,
that's like a really nice whiskey on a really cold night.
right.
Just like, yeah, mellow. I like it.
Yes, sir.
I do.
Thank you.
Uh, oh, thank you so much, Jimmy. I appreciate that very much. I really appreciate that for saying that. And now everybody's clapping. Everybody's clapping. I love that too. Thank you guys. You guys are kicking ass tonight already. My chat just seems to getting more and more. I don't know when you do your lives and you do your shows. Have you noticed over as it gets as you do it a little bit more overall? Have you noticed that your chat gets more and more just on fire?
Oh, absolutely, man. And it's exciting, thinking back to you when you did your first couple of live streams. I was scared to death the first time I went live. And I think I had two people in there. But I kept doing it, kept doing it. So I've had up to like 70 people in a live. So so that's a big difference from day one.
Oh yeah, I had Paul Green on a couple of weeks ago, and in it I'm sitting there and I'm hitting, so that's what it's like hitting, between 30 and 40, and I was
Right,
like, wow, that's just crazy. But you're right, when I first started, it was like, I was like, oh, please let somebody be there, because my greatest fear is to open up the show, with a guest and nobody be in the chat, that'd be like, but you just have to, part of the edge for me anyway, part of the edge is, um whenever I book a guest, I have the attitude is my attitude is, and it helps me is, I don't care if there's anybody here because I just want to talk to you. You know, I
right,
want to talk to you, but of course, you want the chat to be there, but I want to talk. This is the reason why I asked. But you're right that the chat is getting better and better every week. It seems like.
right.
so much engagement. Let's see, TWTTV, hey Motion, hey there family. Pete's clapping. Hey Kubrick Lover 72. Hello Patrick in Emotion. Great song Emotion.
Thank
Yes, I agree. Tina Marie, awesome job Emotion. I agree with that as well. I love it. Um, Now, when I booked bands back in California, I didn't get a chance very often to book. I didn't get a chance to book that much jazz. I did some, but not a lot.
right.
But I really appreciate. I love listening to it.
Oh, thank you. I
Um,
appreciate. That's jazz is kind of like where I started. And I kind of just kind of migrated away from it a little bit into the kind of the R&B kind of feel. So that's why I was afraid to put a genre on my music. So I guess I may be more of an indie type of artist, than R&B, but but everybody says it's got an R&B feel, but to me, it's kind of like a cross from my jazz roots into the R&B scene a little bit, So I think that's where it landed, So you can label it what you want. I mean, I'm not really particular about that, I just love music in general.
yeah, I that's why I didn't put just one. I've always felt your music when I heard it, it encompassed a lot more than just one. It has elements of jazz, it has elements of pop, it has elements of I know there's such thing as jazz and smooth jazz. Um, and I just thought it was, their soul. I know Kevin describes it as soul,
Right.
which I agree with that too. I totally agree with that. But let
Yeah.
me ask you a question. I want to ask you a question as a musician, and especially one that started out in jazz. Hello, Aaron. How are you? What's your what's your opinion about jazz? What do you like and dislike? What are some of the likes and dislikes you like to play in it?
Well, I like jazz, because when I think about jazz, I think about when I go back to my high school, college days, and I was a trumpet player. So they would give me a piece of music, and they say improv, and and you just play what you feel. There's no music, there's no notes. The only thing you see on there is just the chord changes. Say this is the key you're in. These are the chords that we're going to go through, and just play how you feel. So I really love jazz as far as being able to express yourself. Even if it can be upbeat jazz or ballad jazz. It's kind of like where my heart is. I like the ballads. But you get on there, and I just close my eyes and I just go to another place, and and I'm just playing, what feels good, and and most of the time it comes out pretty good. There's been some times where I bombed, but I just pick myself up and keep going. So that's one of the things I love about jazz. But then when you there's different levels of jazz now. When you get into like the jazz fusion and stuff like that. To me, that's not my cup of tea. I can listen to it, but I really get lost in that sometimes. When I'm trying to follow the chord changes and things like that. So I'm not a real big fan of the jazz fusion. I appreciate those guys, because they're doing something out there different. But it's not for me.
Right. Um, do you feel? I mean, when you play, you mentioned the improv. Do you feel like today's jazz is it more improv today? Is it more acceptable today by audiences to see a jazz performer spread his wings, so to speak, or do you still find the fans still being pretty much locked down into seeing jazz as a narrow form?
Well, I think yeah, jazz is a little different, because if you think about the different genres, if you compare it like to country music, jazz. If you put a pie on the table and you say, okay, well, you got your country and you got your jazz. Jazz might take one quarter of that pie, three quarters of it would be country. So the people, the people who listen to jazz are a little different crowd
Yeah.
than your average person. I'm not to say that they're more sophisticated or anything like that, but jazz is kind of like centered toward, like, if you take your wine drinker versus your beer drinker, there's probably a lot more people out there who drink beer, because that's just what they like, but then the wine drinkers are kind of like the people who like to listen to jazz. That's not the 100% in stone or in order case, but that's just what I see when I'm going out there. Especially when I used to go out and perform at these different places and things like that. I would kind of like notice those kind of things. So jazz is a unique, it's a unique genre of music, and there are some really great guys out there in that music, but then there's great guys in all different genres of music, but jazz to me, I think it, it attracts a smaller amount of people.
Yeah, you mentioned something that's a good analogy right there, and you mentioned about the beer and wine drinkers. And to me, it's like, you're right. You have the wine drinkers; they're sitting there, right, because they're expecting a certain type of music. There's certain, But let's
Right.
just say that you come out there and it's all of a sudden, instead of playing straight jazz, what if you just came out there and you did drop a little jazz and you threw in a little with a country flavor to it, right? Now
Right.
here you are, you're going like, I could do this. I could make a little twang and some jazz. That'd be an interesting combination.
Right. Yes, sir. It
But
wouldn't be.
but all those wine drinkers, they would just feel like, what the hell is that?
Right.
They're sitting there and they're gonna go like, that's not jazz. That's not jazz. That's not what you're playing. Is not jazz.
Right.
And it's
Absolutely.
just like, they sort of turn on you. It's like, instead of embracing the artist and his creativity, his or her creativity, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, you got to play just like this. You only got a small room to maneuver with.
Right.
Um, I just, ooh, that's the reason why I never really got into that, or blues. I'm not a real big fan of either genre as a whole. I love jazz players that have freedom. To me, it's like, whatever you do and however you express yourself, it's up to you. It's not up to me. It's
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
to you. You
Yeah,
know?
blues is even I think maybe even a smaller piece of that pie, but there are some dedicated guys out there, who love blues, and I kind of see that. It kind of reminds me of Nashville when I'm going downtown, and there's, you'll see all of the different, nightclubs and bars, things like that, but you would hear distinctly one of the blues bars or something like that, and those guys are in there just crying, pulling their hearts out and stuff like that, and some of it's pretty neat, but I'm not heavy in the blues, I could probably listen to some of it, and I can listen to, like I said, I can listen to some of the jazz, but when you start getting to that fusion, I'm not a big fan of that. I can listen to country, pop, R&B. There's not much that I don't listen to, but I can only go to a certain extreme of each genre.
Yeah, I totally get it. I was just wanting to know, as an artist, when you played out and you get done playing it and you're breaking down your equipment and you're talking to the people, has anyone ever walked up to you and said, "What was that you were playing?" Because
Right.
that was, yeah, it's just like, because I've heard that. I've heard.
They have, that we wasn't expecting that, that kind of like went off, left field a little bit, but sometimes, when I was out there performing, sometimes, you might have to, you have to feel the crowd, you have to feel your audience, and you can get a sense if they're enjoying it or not, and if I ever feel like they're not, so I might try and throw a couple of, something else, something a little different there and see if I can get more interaction with the audience, but as a musician, if you're out there and you perform it live, you got to be creative. You got to think off the cuff and say, what do I need to do to draw these guys in? Because the last thing you want to leave, to do is just leave that place, with a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and they just heard that one performance, but that one performance is a lasting performance for them.
Yeah, isn't that sucked? Doesn't that suck though? That you
Right,
get judged, on one performance. I
right,
mean, I mean, those are the two genres that I worked with the most, that had those kind of fans. It's like, you should be happy that they're out there playing something new and fresh. I mean, not everybody's Stevie Ray Vaughan, kids. There are
right.
some original talent out there that can go out there and play, and not everybody has to play down that narrow pathway. That's
Right,
what makes music, to me. That's what makes music so much fun. is always discovering something new, you
Oh,
know?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's to me, it's just an expression. It's how I'm feeling the day that I thought of that tune. And how can I capture that? And put that on paper to where I can perform it. So it's a whole thought process. And a lot of times, I'll catch myself, and I'm humming something in my head, and then I have to go get my recorder, and I'll just have to record what I'm humming just that moment, because if I think about it tomorrow, I can't think of exactly what I was doing. So I have I don't know, thousands of little clips, a minute or probably or less of just me humming or singing something. Then I go back and listen to it, and I say, okay, well, this is where we can go with this.
Uh, yeah, agreed. Let's go back to the beginning. I want to circle back. We'll come back to this point, but I want to go back because we got to find out where you came from, where you got your start at. How
Okay,
where
well, I can tell you about that. My grandfather is a trumpet player. My father's a trumpet player. So here I go, about the age of 6, I have a trumpet in my hand,
no,
so started playing trumpet, and a lot of times when other kids were out running around on the playground, I was in my room having to practice and things like that. But fortunately, I mean, we don't see it a whole lot on my channel. I may have one or two clips where I'm actually playing. One of them I'm playing a flugelhorn in one of my clips, and the other one I'm actually playing some like some jazz, just going through some chord changes. With some jazz with my trumpet. I've been through extensive training. On the horn. So went to high school, ended up being first chair trumpet player the 4 years I was there in high school. Then I'll go to college, so we got to audition for all the parts, and I end up becoming the soloist, which is fourth trumpet chair, but the fourth chair trumpet player is the one who can improvise, and take all the solos, and then the solos I didn't want, I get to divvy those out to the other different players and stuff like that, so everybody was my best friend when it came to that kind of stuff. you know, so so I went through that. I got to do a lot of competitions all over the world. Going around with different trumpet players, stuff like that. Had the pleasure of playing with BB King. You know, played with Dizzy Gillespie. And Miles Davis. So those three of the big guys that I played with at one point in time in my life. Um, Actually, on an album live in Montreal with Dizzy Gillespie playing a solo. So I'm pretty proud of that too.
that's almost that's like Mount Rushmore class of talent right there.
And so those some heavy hitters, man.
Big
And
hitter,
it
big.
was an honor to be with them. Even though I didn't get to spend a whole lot. It was mostly studio time. But we did get to chat and stuff like that. On the downtime and stuff like that. So it was pretty awesome.
No, man, that's you know what that's a memory. I mean, that's something that nobody else gets to do, or very few people get to do. Very few people. That's another thing about music being what it is. It's like you get a lot of encounters that nobody else will ever get a chance to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Um, what college did you go to?
I went to Tennessee State University. I was in the
Oh,
band, so I'm an aristocrat. That's what they were called, aristocrat of bands. You
yep.
know, but it was they were known for their halftime shows.
You know,
So it was really good. But one thing you didn't know, they were probably the number 3 rated jazz ensemble in the world. So that's why I chose Tennessee State, and plus it was in my backyard there too, and it was an
uh,
awesome experience.
well, I've always said this. Like for the HBCUs, they have they have the country's best bands. Their marching bands are the best. There's nobody touching any of those bands.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So
Mm.
I enjoyed. I had a great time there. I mean, it was pretty awesome.
Now, did you get to play with the marching band as well, or just stay in jazz?
I was in every band that they can offer. I mean, I was in the marching.
Oh, so you got the march.
Yeah, I was a music major. So that was my major. So that was a requirement. I was in the concert band, marching band, the pep band, jazz band. Jazz trio. So it was every day I was in somebody's music class.
Uh, I'm just that's stoked. That's exciting. I
Right.
mean, Tennessee Tigers have one of the best school. It's one of the best schools. Has one of the best bands. Um, yeah. Uh,
Yes, sir.
and the movie Drumline. Where they had
Right.
the marching bands battle. That was pretty much every occurrence, right?
Right.
When you
That
played.
was, yeah, that was us. That was kind of like Tennessee State. That reminded me so much of my college days when I watched that movie. Yes, sir.
That's one of my very favorite music movies.
Right.
That last 20 minutes is absolutely riveting. I have so much respect. I actually, me and my wife, we went to a football game at Eastern Michigan, and they played Howard. And so this was our first time being exposed to an HBCU school, the marching band.
Right.
And and I told my wife, I said, we are in for it. We're in for a treat.
Right.
I
Right.
think the most utmost respect that I could see that like Eastern Michigan was the host. I thought the most telling, the most respectful thing that you learned was they didn't even put the feet on the ground. They
Right.
stayed up in the stands and let Howard's band have the whole field for all the halftime show.
Oh wow.
They didn't even bother. It's like, you know what? It's like, but that's like a cover band compared to like the royal the royal orchestra. It's just like how about class versus some guys getting together to jam. And they stayed off the field, and they let Howard have the field, and they were just amazing. I love those bands. That's amazing. I did not know that.
Oh,
uh
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's part of my history there, part of me growing up there. And I grew up in that Nashville area, Lebanon, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes from downtown Nashville. Then as a young adult, I moved to the Antioch area, which was now I'm about 10 minutes from downtown. So that's kind of like my old stomping grounds.
Kubrick 72 mentions he says he's been cooking dinner, but did you say you played with Miles Davis and BB King and Dizzy Gillespie?
Yes,
Gillespie.
yes,
So yeah, what can I say? I told you we bring all sorts of talent here to the show. That's for damn sure. Oh my gosh, I'm stoked. That what a terrific career you're having.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, thank you. I just I hadn't made it to that level, because there's a lot of starving musicians, and once I graduated, I did studio music. I did studio time a lot, but it wasn't to the point to where I could not work a full-time job, so studio back then it was like $60 an hour for me to come in there and play, which wasn't bad, and usually it's 3 or 4 hours, but it wasn't like a full-time gig. I might have one or two a week or something like that, so like I said, life happened, then you get married and you start having children, so your focus has changed a little bit, so kind of got out the music deal and got into corporate America, and I did that, so but now I'm kind of like circle, it's like full circle. I'm kind of going back to my roots, because I'm determined to make this thing work.
Um, where are some of the places you played at when you played out? I mean, what was it like for you when you first started out? I mean, when you played, you were in high school, and how old were you when did you form your first band when you were a teenager, or was it during college or after college?
Oh no, I was playing in places, back in high school, so and the band director would give me these gigs, so they had me come and sit in with somebody or something like that. They need a trumpet player, so I got to play with those guys. And then there were a few bands that were local bands, that were doing mostly jazz kind of stuff, and I played with those guys. And my first introduction into like a formal setting was an old band director. He was the keyboard player. He reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I'm putting this thing together. Would you be interested in coming out there?" So I did. So he kind of like kind of brought me in under his wing and things like that. And I started playing with him. His name is Glenn Martin, just in case he's out there somewhere. And so I started playing with him. And he kind of introduced me to getting out and playing. So but the fortunate thing about the way I gig, it's kind of like what you guys are hearing here. If I'm in a live band somewhere, it's usually somebody else's band. But if I go and book something, I take all my music, everything, and I'll take and I'll cut certain things out of the track and stuff like that. So I'll have my backtrack playing, and I may be playing keyboard and singing along with the music, So, um, and that works out here because there's no real overhead to that, and I'm not having to pay 100 people. I might have to pay a sound guy or something like that, but other than that, it's usually just me.
Yeah, track acts are actually they're pretty common in the business. I mean, I used to book track acts at a club I had, and it was like whether it be Casey and the Sunshine Band or Tag Team or any one of those some of those pop bands that were touring. A lot of times they just had they had tracks because you're right, just for the reasons you said it was to cut costs.
Right.
So they
Yes.
would just play the background music, then you just sing over it. And
Right.
and yeah,
Well,
I've seen that, and it's
yeah. No,
actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, another way thing that works to my benefit too. Even though I got tracks, I always have a live board.
Mm.
So I can get out there. So if I'm playing and I decide to go off in left field somewhere, I can just pick up the keyboard and start playing something, and we'll go somewhere else with it. The thing about tracks, and that, as you would know, you can't deviate from a track. You can't be like, in a certain mood and you're feeling it. You can't go back and say, "Oh, hey guys, hit one more time or one more time," or something like that. You just have
Right,
to play straight through the tracks. But I can, like after a song is done, I might get on the keyboard and just go back through a couple of things or something like that. Just let them know that it's really me, and I can play, So just make sure that they feel like they're getting their money's worth when they come out and
right.
stuff.
Sometimes that's a lot of fun. You play off your set list. You play a song off your set list, and then all of a sudden, you see the people really digging it, and then you can just go. You can freestyle it. You can just
Right,
start ripping.
right,
And it's like and a lot of pop fans, a lot of they love that sort of thing. They just like to see someone just show off their skills.
right.
Um,
Absolutely,
now,
absolutely.
when you play now, what did you like playing best? Did you like playing in a band more, or do you like playing solo?
Well, it all depends, if I mean, I think I like both. That's kind of like a hard question. So if I'm playing with a band, you know, I'm real particular about, so I'm not gonna raise my hand, if I don't feel like the band's got a good sound and stuff like that. It's not that I'm saying I'm any better than anyone, but as as a musician, you hear stuff, you can hear stuff when it's out of tune and it's not playing and it just doesn't feel good to you. I
Yeah,
really I really kind of shy away from those kind of sets. But if somebody's in there tight, and they're playing, and it sounded good, and everybody's in tune, they're harmonized, and the drummer, makes the band, especially when you're talking about some funk or some jazz or something like that, and if he's got everybody locked in the pocket, oh, I'm up there all day, and I love that, and and I also love, being by myself, because when I'm playing by myself, it's all interpreted by me. It's what I'm feeling. It's not what everybody else is doing because I can feel a certain way and somebody not feel that same way, and then we're not meshing together. So I like sometimes just getting with my just me and the keyboard and just kind of lay it back and just let things flow.
you're right. I just want to sit there and say thank you, Miss Brown, for coming. You can catch the rest of us on the replay.
Thank you.
And David has a question too. He asking you, emotion. Do you find it easier to come up with a melody first or the lyrics? He always struggles with the lyrics.
Well, when it all depends on how I approach the tune. So if I come, David, if I come into my room and I'm just messing around, and I'm just like, sometimes I just like try to hear like a chord progression. Some hear something like that, and I usually start humming to myself, and I'm the world's worst about writing because I don't when I'm writing music, I don't have a pen and piece of paper, so I might do something like Shabba dooba dee boo day. Shabba dooba dee boo day. So then I'll have that in my head. Then I'll take that kind of melody that I'm hearing and I'll convert that over into lyrics. You know, and then another way, sometimes when I'm writing music, I hear the hook in my head, and I have no idea what the rest of the song is like. So I have that hook in my head, and I'm trying to be, it's kind of like the recent song I put out is "What Kind of Friend Can I Be?" So it's "What kind of friend can I be?" And I just kept hearing that, and just one day I said, "Okay, well, let me sit down and see what I can come up with." And I'll play that one for you guys, but it took, it's just kind of like it all depends, but it's hard sometimes coming up with lyrics that are meaningful, and trying to tell a story, because you can say anything, but it needs to tell a story and it needs to build to a certain point. You need to be able to break that down until you close it out, I know, David, I was kind of like all over the place, but I hope that kind of helped you a little bit.
You mentioned something about not writing things down with a pen and paper. Um, do you have a process that you use for writing a song? I mean,
Oh yeah.
do you carry that in your head and then you go inside? I mean, you
I,
have it in your head first?
right.
Do you commit it to the instrument first, or
I have an idea. All right, so I know what the chord progression is going to be and stuff like that. So I have that part down. So I'll record that and I'll just kind of let it, and I'll loop it and I'll just let it play over and over and I'm listening to it. And then I'll turn my mic on and then I'll start singing stuff. Sometimes it makes no sense and I'm just singing it, and then I'll listen to that and it's like, okay, does that make sense there? Or I might cut it out, So I've never written a song till after it was done as far as the lyrics. So after I get done with the song or get pretty close to it, then I'll write the lyrics down, and I'll read it. I'll read through them, make sure that it makes sense, and then that's kind of the way I approach it.
yeah, I always find it fascinating to find out how songwriters, to me, because it's like this, nobody does that the same thing twice. Everybody does something a little bit different. So though I have to say, I don't rarely talk to songwriters that don't write things down. They write it out. I mean, they may crumple it up, but I don't. It takes a lot of skill to carry that in your head, especially if you're, let's say, you get up in the morning and you hear it in your head, right? And
Right.
then you got to carry that through the whole day until you can actually get a chance to come back and sit down and actually and work on it. You got to hold that in. That's a have you ever had that happen where you got up, you had an idea, and then at the end of the day you went to go get it done and it was gone?
Yep. That's happened many a times. I'll hear it, and then when I go sit down in front of the keyboard, I'm like, I can't even remember what I was doing or what I was thinking or what it was about, and that can be frustrating sometimes, so you just kind of scratch that one, but the fortunate thing is, and I encourage anybody, if you, however you're doing your music, if you're a musician, if you got some kind of way to do it, never delete it. If you don't like it, do not delete it. Just save it and keep it. Then maybe a month down the road, listen to it. Then you might come up with a different idea for it too.
Um, Dave was mentioning using the voice memo on my phone is a great tool for capturing ideas. Yeah, I would think that would be something I would do too. Just grab the phone, turn on the recorder, drop down, the basics, because once you hear it, I mean, you might not be able to, you could just at least drop down the bare bones of it. You might not, just like do, put it down there, and then once you hear it again, then it brings everything back to what you heard before. Um, And Sunshine Films mentions the process. The process is everything. I mean, it's like it really is. It's like how do you do things? How do you make it work for you?
Right.
Um, Now, do you solely use the keyboard for your songwriting, or do you sometimes break out the trumpet?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I'll answer that, but can we go back to a question? We missed one from Mr. Hobbs Horror.
oh, sure.
Yeah. And it said, I can read it. It said it's from Dayton, Ohio. We have a lot of great musicians around here. I was curious your thoughts about the Ohio players and Lakeside. Enjoy the music while I work in the background. Thank you. Well, those guys were in my era. I love both of them. Lakeside is one of my favorite, kind of like funk groups. Even though they did a lot of nice ballads, but I love everything that those guys are doing. You know, I mean, there's some awesome groups out there.
And I have to say, since I had the honor of booking the Ohio players for a show, I thought they were fantastic.
Right, right,
Um, they're consummate pros. They sounded absolutely gorgeous, um, and they were all gentlemen to a T. I wish every band was like that.
right,
Um, it wasn't like the pure original lineup. I think they had two originals left, but that didn't take anything away from the music. It was the Ohio players, and yeah, I feel blessed to say
right.
I had a shot, because I also had a chance to book John Lee Hooker, and whereas I wasn't necessarily, like I said, I wasn't the biggest blues guy.
Right.
I definitely was a John Lee Hooker fan.
All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well,
Um,
growing up, my favorite, the one group that I wish I could have played with as a trumpet player would have been Earth, Wind, and Fire because they have one of the tightest trumpet and one of the tightest brass or brass sections. And it's not all brass because they have saxophone players too, but they have some of the tightest musicians. And they call it the horn section. You know, uh, but those guys are tight. I've been to a concert where those guys just broke out and it's just the horn section. Everybody just leaves and they just put on a show and it's just so awesome. It is so awesome.
yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's one of the best bands. You can't mention like a top 50 band without mentioning Earth, Wind, and Fire. You just can't do it. I mean, your list. If you go, well, here's my 50. Here's my 50. You don't have Earth, Wind, and Fire on there in any way, shape, or form.
Right,
You're
right,
listing. You're listing all that because you cannot do that. Because you're right. I mean, I was in that era too, emotion, and I grew up watching Earth, Wind, and Fire, and those guys were just exactly that fire.
right. Yeah,
Super band.
that's an awesome group. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I like Cool and the Gang. They were really funky too. I
Yeah,
mean,
cool.
a lot of people don't really remember the Cool and the Gang that much. They just don't. I don't know if they have classic rock for it or not, but I mean, Cool and the Gang was massive. Like you said, Lakeside. Uh, I got into heavy into Curtis Mayfield.
Right. Yeah.
The last 10 years or so. Shit, that's just man. The music was great back then.
Oh, yes,
Um,
sir.
so you work. How many instruments do you play proficiently?
Well, those are my two main instruments. I can play sax. Play clarinet. Fortunately, clarinet's the same key as the trumpet. Both of them in B flat. Saxophone is in E flat. But you can get one made. You can get one professionally made in a different key. But those are my main instruments. So a lot of times, and I'm very fortunate. I have this thing called silent brass. It's a mute to where I can put it in the end of my trumpet or my flugelhorn and put headphones on. You wouldn't hear it. You could be in the room with me. You wouldn't hear it, and I can hear it just as plain as day. So that's how far the technology has come. And also use that if I'm recording. If I have want to put horns on my track, I can take it actually out of the mute and run it into my inputs, and I can record it that way too. And a lot of people don't believe, like I'm in like a two-bedroom apartment. So everything I do is out of an apartment and my neighbors have no idea what I do. So that's pretty awesome.
You know what? I think right now would be a perfect time for a little break. give the chance for the chat to throw out some more questions, and you can come out and break out another song.
Okay, Roger that. I'll do it.
All
Okay,
right.
it's gonna it's gonna be me and the keyboard this time. Hopefully, y'all forgive me. Like I said, I am really got allergies going on here, but I'm gonna see if I can get through this here. You told me that you were going away. You met someone who's gonna take my place. But can he treat you better than I do? Please tell me, what am I to do? There's not one thing that he can do that I haven't already done for you. So I'm asking, does this mean goodbye? Now that you have gone, I know I would be alone. Lord knows I have nothing left to do. So I mope around just thinking of you. There's not one thing he can do that I haven't already done for you. So I'm asking, does this mean goodbye? Well, I'm asking, does this mean goodbye?
Nice, real
Okay.
nice.
Thank you, thank you. That's does this mean goodbye?
That's real nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I just put that one out. That's probably less than 2 weeks old there, So and like I said, there's one of those times where I was just playing the chord changes, recorded it, and posted it. There was no editing whatsoever. I just came up with the words as I was playing, and it just worked out fine.
That's just gotta, that's just has to come from years of just playing for lyrics to just come to you like that, and you're able to spot and recognize them.
right.
What is more? What's the most important when you do for write a song? What's the, because songwriting is such a hard thing to do. I mean, is it what comes first, so to speak? Is it the melody or is it the hook?
Oh,
I've
it's
always
to me, it's the hook, because the hook kind of is like it's the part of the tune that draws everybody in. So it's the part that you're going to repeat over and over, and get everybody's attention. So in that particular tune, even though it's not a traditional hook, but the hook is, does this mean goodbye? So it really it conveyed that message, So it's telling the story, about the lady, she's leaving the man, and he's a little upset, and he really wants to know, does this really mean goodbye? So that was the message that I was trying to convey, and I think it came across okay there.
uh, do you like do you like recording more, or do you like playing live more?
I really enjoy playing live, but in order for me to play live, there's got to be a lot of recording, at least, I feel like it does, because I record it and I'll listen to it, because last thing you want to do is get out there and you perform something that really doesn't go over well, or you're having to stumble through it or something like that, or you forget where you're going in the tune, because as a musician, I can know I'm in the key of C, but there's like seven chords in the major, that I could be playing, and let's not talk about the minor key or the melodic scales and stuff like that. So I just know I'm in the key of C, but if I'm hearing something, I kind of like know where I'm going, but it's not necessarily, because I have gone out and performed and I'm playing some chord changes and I'm still in the right key, but I'm playing some changes that are different from the original melody, and the audience wouldn't know, but I would know, that this is not, so I have to get my way back to the original tune.
Let's see, Mr. Bones saying, why she got to doom like that emotion?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, if they didn't happen that way, we wouldn't have any love ballads. That's why
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
we can't have any slow jams if there isn't some drama.
right, right, absolutely, absolutely. So I'll mention this too. A lot of people ask me, like, and it may be a question for you. So forgive me if I'm stealing your thunder. But they ask me like, what inspires you to write certain songs? So I just want to put out that I am not depressed by any means, but it's just what I like to do are the nice, I like the pretty chord changes and things like that. And most of the times those things turn into ballads, and but I have gone out there and I have taken a ballad and turned it into a nice, pretty song, upbeat song, and added some guitar to it and stuff like that. And you wouldn't believe it was the ballad, that I sing. Matter of fact, on the next time when I play something, that song that I just wrote, "Does This Mean Goodbye?" I actually wrote another version of it. It's called "It's Summertime." So as a musician, you can take the same chord changes, chop it up, or put a different feel to it, and it becomes a totally different song. So when I get ready to do that song, I'll take you guys through those chord changes, then I'll play that song, and you're going to be like, "Wow, this is not the same song." And it's absolutely not. It is something totally different.
Okay, all right, we're looking forward to that.
Right.
What as far as what was it like for you? Because like I keep going back to your experiences. I mean, but let me ask you this question. So, do you think music as we know it in America, because it seems like we hear over and over and over about in schools, especially high schools, it seems like music departments are being cut over and over and over. It's like, a lot of schools no longer have a music program or whatnot, or schools rely on donations from private parties, and that doesn't always, happen. Uh, do you feel like, by talking to your peers or whatnot, do you feel like music education in America is it on the wane, or do you think it's holding steady? And if you do think it's on the downside, what can we do to rescue it?
Well, I think. Well, first of all, I think that there's a lot of things, that they're taking out of schools and stuff like that, that were kind of like prevalent when we were in school, and I know that, fortunately, when I look back at the schools I went to, like in Lebanon, Tennessee, they cut out some of the programs. They didn't cut out all the programs, but it's disheartening to know, that you were there and like you were in a jazz ensemble or a pep band or stuff like that, and they're not there. They're no longer there, so after I graduated, so one of the things that I would do, I'd volunteer, and I'll go back to my high school, and I'll sit in there and, and I'll sit in the band class, something like that, especially marching season, and I'll get up there, and I'll hold sectionals is what we call them, with the trumpet section. I'm not getting paid for this, just volunteering my time, and I'll teach them how to read the music and go through the music, and just build them up, give them the confidence that they need to get out there and make that happen, so I really enjoy that. I'd do it today if I got an invite to go back to school, and help with one of the sections. I do that because I love that. But like I said, it's unfortunate that some of those programs are going away. I think it's kind of slowed down, because when I was first hearing it, Patrick, it was pretty prevalent across the board,
Yeah.
and I was hearing it from multiple people, in multiple states, but I think it's calmed down quite a bit. I think they went through that one phase where they thought, somebody had the idea, that we're going to save some money, by cutting this program because they didn't feel like it was an essential program. But I feel it's very important.
I do too. If you want
Yeah.
to cut something, take some of that money away from football.
Right. Well, yeah, yeah. I don't think they're going to, and that's the sad part about it, right? So they get all of these sponsors and stuff like that, for those football programs and stuff like that, So I don't think that that's one of the programs that they cut out, unless they got a football team that just hadn't won a game in 10 years or something like that. But I just don't see those things going away, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's just funny, you see the priority and going like, wow, what do like, because the arts, I mean, the arts are, that's what makes us stand out as a culture, that
right,
we have, we can appreciate the fine arts, we're not just, beer and a shot kind of culture, we could all be those wine drinkers. There's nothing wrong with that. We can always appreciate artists, and musicians and, and sculptors and whatnot. It isn't always just blue collar football. And
right,
the school is just like, wow, it's like, what, just because what, because you can't charge money to watch these guys play, that means you're going to cut the program. I
right.
mean,
Yes.
um let's see, Kubrick lovers mentioning, is there an instrument that you would like to play that you haven't played yet?
Oh, well, I love to learn how to play a guitar. I own two guitars and have not learned to play either one of them. And they're not cheap guitar. There's, I got some couple of nice guitars. One of them still in the box, the original package, but I haven't, got out to play. The other one is open, and my son, he's not a professional, but he learned how to play it, and it took him, I watched him grow from zero in about 6 months. He was playing me all these different songs and stuff, I was a little jealous, but I just never picked it up, So that's something, that I would really love to be able to pick up and play, because I can hear a lot of guitar parts and stuff, in my head when I'm laying tracks, but they're very hard to duplicate it on a keyboard, unless it's some kind of like a guitar solo. But I'm hearing like certain guitar licks and stuff like that, So for one, it's hard to find a sample of the sound that I really like to do that, and but then it's hard to, because you can't. It's hard to strum on a keyboard like you would hear it on a guitar.
Let's see. Let's see. Here we go. No, he commented. He owns a straight and a Les Paul himself. The cheaper versions. Um, yeah, guitars. That's sort of a misnomer right there because guitars are rather expensive.
Oh yeah, I've walked into, I walked in there and looked at some of those guitars, and I'm like, Jesus, you know, uh, uh, I can see them, on the low end, you might be able to go in there and get you one, couple of $300, but then I seen some, that's over $20,000. You
Yeah.
know, and that's just, I am nowhere near that level, to even consider doing something like that.
You mentioned your son. Do you and your son, do you guys, do you play with each other? I mean, do you go out and jam together, co-write together? How old is your son, and does he perform live with you?
Oh no, my son, when he was learning how to play, he started out trumpet. I have two boys, so both of them played trumpet in high school in the band, but my youngest one went from trumpet to tuba. I don't know what possessed him to do that, but he got really, really good with the tuba, but now, now he's over in Iraq, so my
Mm.
youngest son is now, he's 20 and he's over in Iraq, he's in the army, so, but he's enjoying life because that's something that he's been wanting to do that for the last 4 or 5 years. So he's doing really really well at that. My other son, he's 26. He's back in the Nashville area and he manages a convenience store.
Okay, okay. Um, where, what's the live scene like around where you're at? I mean, do you find yourself struggling? I mean, live music too. That's another thing we could talk about. So it seems to me that live music, as far on the club level, it seems to be really disappearing quite quickly, doesn't it?
It is, and especially, so, we were talking about jazz and stuff like that. So, Glenn at messaged me one time and he's telling me this is harder and harder for him to get a gig these days, because nobody, wants that style of jazz. And it was kind of the laid back dinner jazz kind of stuff. Most of the jazz standards, stuff like Stardust and stuff like that. So, but he said no one would really, he's finding it hard to even book those type of gigs. And he was kind of leaning on me a little bit and asked me what I was doing. So I told him, that's another reason why I just decided to do something a little different. Because it would be easier for me to go out and book something, with the stuff I'm doing now versus if I go to somebody and say, okay, well, I'm just going to play some jazz standards, so the audience has changed a little bit, but back to that point that you was making, it has gone away. It's kind of deteriorated a little bit. You don't see it as prevalent as it used to be. You know, I'd have to search a little bit harder now to find somebody playing live, somewhere, versus 10 years ago, it was everywhere, you know. But but yeah, I believe you're right. It is kind of falling off quite a bit.
Yeah, it just man, it's been seen. It's almost like a slow death over the last 20 to 25 years. Live venues. And it's just so expensive now to run a club and but the returns. I mean, it's cheaper to play a DJ than it is to play a talented live band. But
Right,
the music from the live band is better than the DJ. I
right,
mean, that's how I feel. Um,
absolutely.
so I mean, when you mentioned about playing live on YouTube, I mean, this one thing I have to sit there and say too. I mean, we talked about radio. Radio too. Radio used to be king, but radio is sort of on the same size as the clubs. It's sort of like circling the drain a little bit. Radio is not nearly as important as like it used to be.
All right. Yeah, no, they've got all these apps now, so you can stream your music, on an app or something like that, and all these sponsors go in there, and they pay for these ads, something similar to what YouTube's doing, and that's how they make their money, so they don't have that DJ, to me, sometimes, DJ, back in the day would be the one to make the show.
Yeah.
Even though the music was good, but the personality of the DJ, that's who you want to go in there, and listen to. So yeah, but times have really changed. We've evolved, I guess. If that's the correct word to use. For that. But things have definitely changed.
Mr. Bones is asking emotion. How did you do those lights on your cam? Uh, me,
How
I
do
guess
we
you
do
mean the overall.
the star lights? Okay, well, so I have a light packet. I didn't get it out today. But I do have a light packet. That is sound activated. So there's four lights and it's on a big tree, like a big T, and they hang. You adjust them up so you can adjust the sensitivity. And I believe I found those on Amazon. So they just go along with the beat. You can program to do anything that you want them to do. But I usually just go off with the sound. Just program the sensitivity. As far as how loud the room is, stuff like that, and they react really well to that. So that's what I use with my lights.
Uh, so when you decide, when once you saw the did COVID lead you to start your own recording of your own music, playing your own, start your YouTube journey, or was it just something you had thought about doing beforehand? Like coming in and playing in front of people, like you're doing now, because your concerts from your home are very popular, and I've been on to a few of them, and they draw very well. Now, was that something that that was new to you? Did you do that because of the lack of live shows, or was it, or the pandemic, or a combination of both?
I did it because the pandemic, is the main reason. I didn't want to get out there. When this whole thing started, everybody was, so much talk about what was going on. I think like it's this or it's that, So I didn't want to fall into that trap. But when you have people that that start, becoming a, that suffered from that pandemic, the COVID. You have people that that died from that. That kind of like told me, okay, well, I'm not going into the clubs at this point. So I had already had my channel. My channel actually started in 2012. Like I said, and I put out my very first original jazz tune. I can't even think of the name of it. It's been so long ago because I hadn't listened to it in that long. Oh, it's "Try Again." So it was me playing trumpet. My very first video. Um, and shoot, man, I think I had like 6 or 7 views on it for about a year, and so I put out another jazz kind of thing, and they just wouldn't, I just, like I said, I was very new to YouTube, had no idea what I was doing, didn't have any, no ideas about analytics. I'm still not a professional when it comes to analytics, but I can read them a little better, and they just didn't do anything, but when this happened, you know, I started, didn't become a recluse, but I was kind of like more to myself. So I had a little more time to go in there and, and just kind of focus some of my energy on some of those songs. Like I said, I have recordings of just bits and pieces of stuff that I've done in the past, and I kind of listen to those and I kind of, like, okay, well, what can I do with this today? And I'll sit there and sometimes I'll just go in there with nothing in mind whatsoever, and like I said, my biggest deal, I just start, I just try and find some chord progressions and just go from there, and then start building upon that, then I'll do my humming thing or whatever with it, and I try and convert that into lyrics, and been successful doing it that way, so my lives though, they I was a little different, because like I said, I was scared, to death, and what's funny, I've been out live, with people, but I never sat like directly behind the camera, so it's just me and the camera, so I have no idea how the people are reacting on the other side. So when you're live and you've got people, you can kind of hear, what's going on, you can hear if they're getting excited or if it gets really quiet and stuff like that, but you don't have that, when I'm going live, because when I go live, I can't even see the chat, because I'm so focused on music, and that's something I thought about doing too, and it may or not be a good idea. It's just to stop every once in a while in the middle of that live and maybe kind of talk to the people a little bit and stuff like that, and I haven't done well at that at all because I hadn't spoke to the people that are in the chat. I'm into my set. I know I got like a 30, 45 minutes. I get through it, and then I'm good, but I still get butterflies, when I turn on the camera sometimes.
I would, Coop. I have something, an opinion about that. Mr. Kubrick lover here says, of all the songs that you have composed, what is the song that you're most proud of? What's your favorite song that you've actually that you wrote and performed?
I must say it's that song that I talked about. Try again. Now, back like I said, when I did it, it might have had no. I say it's probably my second, but I guess the best one to be this song called "Because of You," and that's the hook, "Because of You," and and it started out. I don't know. It started out really slow, but now it's probably in my top. It's probably my fifth ranked video of all time, and I think it may have I don't know 7,000 views or something like that. So I think I'm pretty stoked. I'm a small YouTuber, so 7,000 views is a lot of views for me. For a video. So I'm pretty happy with that. I have done some reaction stuff. That's and I don't do those very often, but if I do hear someone out there that's playing, that is like not like on a major, record label or something like that, I will do a reaction to that person. Just kind of like what you're doing. I want to give them a little more exposure, in hopes that one day, if one of those guys made it big, they could remember that. Okay, hey, well, let's pay it back. But more or less, I just love the music. So I'll play it, and if I think that the people who come to my channel will like it, I'll do a reaction to it. And I've had some reaction videos up to 20,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful. It's sort of like it helps the other artists.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So one day, when I get up the chain a little bit, I might see somebody doing a reaction about emotion. So I'll be pretty stoked at that point.
I'm sure that's coming. I'm not. I wouldn't be so. I wouldn't put it past some of the folks inside the chat right now to go back and watch some of your music and do that reaction video.
Okay.
I would not put it past that. Um, I will say this. You mentioned something here because it's a fine line for sure. Um, you mentioned about performing your set and then maybe talking to the people in between songs, and because you concentrate on doing your set. I like the fact that some artists will a song, they'll play a song, and then while they're tuning up the guitar or whatnot, they'll turn around, they'll make small talk with the audience, and they'll talk a little bit, but they only keep it like underneath a minute or two, right?
Right.
I
Right.
think I think what happens is this is just my opinion. I think if you sit there and you start talking like how you and I are talking, I think it turns it from a artist doing a live set into like a lounge singer, and you're not a lounge singer.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
So because when I do when I set up for a live set, I usually, I stage all my music, and one is kind of like going into the other. There's usually not a break there unless I purposely put a break in there. And if I'm going to come in and I'm going to start playing maybe my keyboard or something like that. So it's usually just one song after another, and I think, and I put a lot of time into planning out the show, how it's going to go, what song is next, what follows, what other one we're going to pick it up here, we're going to slow it down here, we're going to do a little rock kind of funk here, we're going to do a ballad, so I put a lot of thought in that, and I always write down those songs, and sometimes I'll stage them and I'll just listen to them, walking around the house, and they'll be like, oh no, then I'll go back and say, well, this one needs to come before that one, and that's why I did, so, and when I push play, it's on at that time.
right, right.
Sir, yes,
I,
sir.
I like this idea too. I mean, since you're doing a lot of lives from your home and whatnot, and I think a lot of your fans will really appreciate this too. It's just a thought, but when you write out your set list for that set,
Uh-huh.
right? I think you should go ahead and at least let it somebody either win it or they'll have the ability to maybe purchase it or whatnot to help to help support you. But maybe at the end of the set, take your set list and date it and you sign it, and then see if anybody wants to take it home as a memento.
Right.
I
Okay.
know a
That's
lot of bands used to do that.
that's the thought.
Have you thought about doing something like that to give something? Because I just think it's just something that would be something really fun. I would. Oh, I would be something I would like to see, more artists doing, especially the ones that are doing home concerts because we
Right.
can't go to the lives anymore. Even now people are still, they're still a little bit leery about going, but that was just something I would think, I would toss out there.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's absolutely that's a good idea.
I
So
think a lot of people will really support that.
yeah, maybe something I can consider there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, See, Hob says he'll do a reaction video. That's an sunshine. Yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, always. Once you start talking to an artist like yourself, all those old ideas start churning back. Like how do you promote? Because it really is. That's really the key to a successful artist is you got to be able to promote. To get it out there. And you guys out here today watching this show and whatnot now, hopefully you could take this and then you turn around and you tell your friends and your friends tell their friends, and that's really how it works.
Right.
Um, so what was it like for you to perform live the first time on the tube? I mean,
Okay.
that must have been really something else.
Well, I tell you, it was a struggle for me, because I'm so conscious about the quality of the sound that comes through, you know. So I did a lot of research, So I end up settling with the with OBS Studio, So when I'm live, I'm running OBS, But there was a problem, So I can get all of my sounds to go into OBS, But when I clicked on OBS to come through YouTube. All right, so now Windows couldn't read the file that was coming through OBS. So I did a lot of research. So I ended up having to download a couple of different plugins to make all this work. So now I got it. You know, uh, I'm not sure about. I haven't listened to this. So I'm not 100% sure about the quality of what we have today, but I know I'm actually on OBS connected to StreamYard, so this is the first time that I've done it this way. So we'll go back and listen to it and see how it worked out. But when I'm live, I'm just running straight OBS. I got my DAW, my digital analog workstation is what that means. It's where I'm
Okay.
recording all of the music. That's actually on my computer. I'm running a MacBook Pro. Just give you an idea of kind of like how I've got it set up. MacBook Pro. I'm running Logic Pro X. As the DAW. Then I have a Focusrite 2i2 interface where I can run my microphone through and any instruments that I play. All of that runs up to the MacBook Pro and it goes into OBS and then it goes out. So I had to make sure that I had something where all of those sounds, and those programs could work together. It like I said, I struggled, because I downloaded a couple of them that wouldn't work. Caused me to crash a couple of times. Just trying to get all this stuff to work. So I think I finally figured out the formula. So the one plugin I'm using right now though is called Black Hole. And it's a multi-output device, so the output is actually going into Windows and also coming back to me. So it's allowed me to hear what I'm doing, because I'm listening to it from my DAW and I'm also listening to what you guys can hear so I can kind of monitor that. And then I had to make sure that those two were synced together because if not, I would hear this horrible echo, every time I say something.
Hmm.
But like I said, and you can't perform like that, when you're hearing, echoes like that. So finally got all that figured out, and here we are today. So uh, that first one, first time I went live, I was very, very nervous, but after I went back and listened to it, I was pretty proud of the sound that came through there, so I just keep tweaking it, and tweaking it, until, you'll always find something, better, but sometimes it's best to leave something that is not broken alone,
Right.
for a while, so I'm kind of happy where I am right now.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'll let you go ahead and if you want to go ahead and give us another song, I'll step aside and
Sure.
um and let you sing.
All right. So I'm gonna cue this up here. Let me find it. So I was talking earlier about taking a song, same chord changes from one song and putting it in another song and making the song totally different. So this is kind of like what I did here. So, all right. So, just give you guys a little, just kind of like what I did here, you know. So those chord changes from the original tune. So you're going to hear those exact same chord changes, but I promise you, you're going to be very shocked on how they came out this time in this tune here. So we're going to do something. You know, this is something where I kind of brought some funk together with some rock and some R&B and rolled it all up into one thing and called the name of the tune is "It's Summertime." Just one, two. It's a great way to start the day when I can call and hear you say, "Good morning, babe." The sun is shining through the trees. The weather's great for you and me. So let the top down on the car. Show the world my superstar. Stand up with your hands in the air. Wave at people everywhere. The sun is shining everywhere. Ladies pulling up their hair. Men out there start to stare. Feeling love in the air. Honeybees everywhere. 'Cause it's summertime. It's a great way to start the day when I can call and hear you say, "Good morning, babe." The sun is shining through the trees. The weather's great for you and me. So let the top down on the car. Show the world my superstar. It's about you, babe. Stand up with your hands in the air. Wave the people everywhere. The sun is shining everywhere. Ladies pulling up their hair. Men out there start to stare. Feeling love in the air. Honeybees everywhere. 'Cause it's summertime. Oh, oh, oh. The sun is shining everywhere. Ladies pulling up their hair. Men out there start to stare. Feeling love in the air. Honeybees everywhere. 'Cause it's summertime.
Yeah, that's a jam right there.
All right, thank you. Now that
Yeah.
was that was some sample guitar sounds, you know, and I'm playing them through the keyboard. 'Cause like I said, I really wish I could play guitar, but I will eventually get there.
You know what you need to do is you need to find someone who wants to learn how to play trumpet in exchange of the lessons. Because I always thought the trumpet would be harder to learn than the guitar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I don't know. It depends on the person. I guess, if you're musically inclined, it depends on, how basic you have to go. I guess, let's start like that, like that, because that's, when you're playing the guitar, you're strumming, but you got to get your fingers right. So if you're playing a wind instrument, you're not just blowing through the mouthpiece. You have to buzz your lips in order to do that. And to get the different range, you have to tighten your embouchure or loosen your embouchure because you only have three vowels on a trumpet. And most trumpet players play 3 to 4 octaves. But you only have those three vowels. But it's all in your embouchure. It's how tight. The tighter you get, the higher you play. The more relaxed, the lower notes you play.
I've always admired it. I mean, I've seen some really good I've seen some great trumpet players, and it's an amazing instrument, and to make it sing like it does. Hi, John. How are you? John's here. Doomsday Crypt.
Hey, John.
Thank you. Yep, John was kind enough to let me promote the show in this group. I appreciate that so much. Um, Real quick, I won't keep you too much longer, but how can people find you, and how can they buy your music?
Okay, so I'm on any kind of platform, anything from Apple Music, Spotify, so it's just my name, it's Emotion, you know, and if you're searching for the first time, it may be a little hard to find the first time you're in there because there's a lot of emotions out there.
There are a
You
lot of emotions out there.
Yeah, so but on YouTube, if you search for emotion, if you type in emotion new soul, it's kind of like what I put under my screen here, Emotion New Soul. You'll search it, it'll go right to it. It used to be worse than that. You used to have to type in Emotion New Soul R&B. So we've got past the R&B part, so now it's just Emotion New Soul. And I'm hoping to get to eventually wherever somebody searches Emotion, that's one of the top ones that come up. But the analytics and stuff like that are working. The more people get out there and search for me and find me and click on me, I think the better the results are going to be.
Sure, sure. I get that. That's another question I asked too. How did you come up with your stage name?
Well, you know what? I was actually at work one day, and I had a meeting with the manager. We was all sitting there talking, and they were kind of intrigued and thought it was pretty cool to know that I was doing the YouTube name because it originally was my name, which is Freddie, you know. And then we were sitting there, and somebody threw out emotion, and I was like, emotion, emotion. I said, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And so I was asking, I said, well, why you say emotions? Said, because all your music is so full of emotion. And I said,
Yeah,
oh, that makes sense, So that's how emotion was born.
yeah. It fits. It really does.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, I'm gonna let everybody have one last crack at questions. We'll do it for 5 minutes, and then we'll have you close out a song, and then I'll let you go.
All right, all right.
Uh, how many albums have you recorded for yourself?
Well, I don't have I have singles,
Nope.
and
Okay.
I have over 100 singles.
Isn't it something else that we've come full circle?
Right, right,
It used to be singles, and then it got to be long players, LPs, and,
right,
and albums, and now it's back down to singles again.
right. Yeah, I can probably put together an album, but usually, when I release something, I usually release one at a time. You know,
Right.
um, and so I just go ahead and send that to my distributor, and he sends those out. But I can put together albums, but I typically don't do those.
Uh, Go ahead, and everybody, go ahead. If you guys have any questions for Emotion, please drop them in there. What are some of your favorite artists playing today that you enjoy?
Oh man, to be honest, I don't listen to a whole lot of radio.
Me
You know,
either.
um, so I'm not really, in tune to a whole lot of things that's going on out there, in the real world, I guess. I still listen to, some of the old school stuff, so there's not a whole lot of new artists I listen to. And I really need to get out there and do that, because I could probably, pick up some ideas and things like that from those guys. But a lot of the newer hip hop guys are doing things totally different than I feel would be for me. So a lot of those guys have gotten away from a lot of the traditional instruments, and it's more digital stuff and like that. So I like the sound of a trumpet. I like the sounds, of the string section, so I like all those different sounds, an upright bass, versus a digital bass and stuff like that,
Mm.
so I like all those. So my music, tends to have, some of the modern sounds, but I don't want to lose the roots to where I feel like I came from with the real, and I'm not gonna say real music because what they're doing is real music, but the real instruments, the real sounding instruments, other than you know, your
Other
computer
than, yeah,
generates all your sounds for you.
yeah, I think auto tune has been probably one of the worst development in music history.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, I really don't like auto tunes at all. I'd rather just hear you. I want to hear your vocals. I don't want you to be perfect. I want you to be you.
yeah.
Uh,
Auto tune hides a lot of stuff, and if you're not careful, because I've heard some people that use that, and I listen to some of the music, and it makes it sound more robotic and stuff like that. It doesn't have that natural feel to it, in some cases.
Kubrick mentions here. Have you worked on something that you didn't like after you first worked on it, then liked it a few days later, and the opposite?
Oh man, all the time, like I said, as a, if you're working on something and it's your baby, it's your creation, you want it to be a certain way, you want it to sound and feel a certain way. I have put together some stuff, and as I'm working on it and I listen to it and I'm like, I can't do anything with it, So like I said, earlier I said, do not delete. So that's something I never do, so I'll
Right.
just I'll just save it, then it might be, it could be a week later. I go back and I'm just clicking through all of the stuff that I have saved that I hadn't done anything with. And I'd be like, oh, I remember this. And then all of a sudden now, I'm starting to like, I listened to it a couple of times and I was like, okay, I like that. I might tweak a couple of things, change a couple of things. And I'd be like, I really like this now. I think I'm going to do something with this at this point. Yes, sir.
It sounds almost like what if you talk to a writer, like a novelist or whatnot, it's almost like what you're describing is almost like for them it's they call it a writer's box, and literally what it is. Well, I'm probably a little differently now electronically, but they used to sit there and write on on typewriters or whatnot, and they or even even a keyboard, and they would write a novel idea or start writing a story or whatnot. They would hit a block, then they take it out, and then they put it, creativity wise, they put it on a box, a writer's box, and then they say sometimes during a rainstorm or snow or whatever or wherever they're bored at. What the hell? Wow. Okay, I just been invaded by a kaiju here in my office. I got this big ass Rodin bug sitting over here.
Oh my goodness. All right.
He's all right. I'll let him chill. I'll help him outside as soon as we're done. Boy, he's big.
Yes, sir.
They call it a writer's box, and they put all their ideas in that box, and then they go back. Like I said, they have a rainy day, or they're home from work, or whatever, and then they go and they grab it and they start working on it. It sounds like that's what you have. It sounds like you have like 30 or 40 songs in the middle of creation, and then you'll just put them aside and you come back and revisit them.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I don't get rid of anything. Well, I take it back. I have deleted some stuff. If I've listened to it, if it's been on there for a year, and I'm just, and I listen to it again, and I'm like, this is really, I'm not really feeling it, so I might delete that,
Sure.
but when I first started, I wouldn't delete anything, because it was hard for me to come up, like with just typical chord changes and stuff like that, because I you know, had to really think about it, because being a trumpet player, now even though, in college, I had to take piano lessons and things like that, but being a trumpet player, I can hear a lick, and then and then I'd have to convert that over to the keyboard, so it's a whole lot easier for me to do it on the trumpet, because I've held the trumpet in my hand, and I can hear something into my head and I can just automatically play it. And the keyboard is still, I've gotten a lot better. So, but it's a little difficult, because when you're writing lyrics and you can hear the lyrics, then you have to build a chord. You have to structure the chord around those lyrics. So that sometimes, I can hear it. Like I said, I can have a chord that it's in the right key, and it would go, but it doesn't go with the progression of the tune. So I have to sit there, do different inversions or find different chords with those notes in it and things like that until I get it to where it sounds appealing. Hey, Classy.
Hey, Classy. Uh, I tell you what, let's go ahead and let you play one last tune to get to walk us out through the door. I want to say everybody just thanks for coming out. Hang out with us for a little bit longer. Emotion's going to do one more song for us, and then I'll tell you who's coming up the rest of the week, and then we'll let them go. Take it away.
All right. So here's a tune for you guys called The Man Looking Back at Me. When I look in the mirror, who do I see? Can someone please tell me, who am I supposed to be? 'Cause what I see scares me. I'm not the man I wanna be. My life has really changed me. What do you see? So I want you to know that we can't grow without going through some change. So now you know I'm not the man looking back at me. When I look in the mirror, who do I see? Can someone please tell me, who am I supposed to be? 'Cause what I see scares me. I'm not the man I want to be. My life has really changed me. What should I see? Girl, I want you to know that we can't grow without going through some change. So now you know I'm not the man looking back at me. 'Cause Girl, I want you to know that we can't grow without going through some change. So now you know I'm not the man looking back at me. I am not the man looking back at me.
That's great. That's awesome.
All right, thank you, thank you.
That's tight. That is really tight emotion. That's some good stuff there.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well,
Um, what do you what do you got coming up? You got any I'm gonna put your channel in the description box, but do you have any live shows you're gonna be doing anytime soon?
nothing live soon, I'm working on another tune, but I will probably be live in about another week or so, you know. Because I usually, when I go live, I hate performing the same things over and over, so I'll
Right.
mix them up. I'll put some of the old with some of the new, and then I always like to have, maybe a couple of new releases, toward the end of the show. So it'll probably be about another week, but I'll probably have two tunes coming out by then, some stuff
Okay.
that I've been working on. Pretty excited about.
Well, everybody here that if you haven't connected to emotion, we've been dropping his link throughout. I'll be putting it in. Oh my lord, that kaiju just jumped down from me. Oh my god, he's entertaining as hell. I have an unwanted co-host here. Uh,
Yep.
I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Damn, man, he's huge. Casey, come get your friend. Um, so yeah, uh, yeah, I was gonna say, I'll put your description down below. Everybody who is not connected to Emotion tonight or become his friend, please do so, because this is the kind of music that you'll be getting on his channel, and so go on over there and support indie music. Uh, this is a little bigger than that, Casey. This sort of looks more like Gigan than anything else. So yeah, so this is supporting live music, live independent artists. So please do so. Go on over there. And do you have ways that people can support you, like Patreon or memberships or stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I'm fully monetized, so I'm trying to grow that member base, so I have a couple of videos on my channel I actually tell you about, some of the benefits of being a member, and one of those things is, that you will get CDs, I'll send a CD out, I do it about every 3 months, and if you're comfortable, give me an address to send it to, I'll send out a signed CD that has my picture. It's an official CD, and I'll send those out to those guys. Of course, you get the regular, it's the basic, the 99 cent thing. I'll just kind of talk about a little bit. You just get your regular emojis and things like that. And then the next level is bronze. And then you'll get featured on my channel and stuff like that. And Nightbot drops your names throughout the live sessions and things like that. Kind of like shout outs and stuff like that. The next level is gold, and that's when you'll start getting the CDs and stuff like that, and you get the member only videos. There's a couple of those on the channel, Motion's House is open, and I'll say this, if you guys are able to do that, that's great. If you can't do it, it's understandable. I'm not out here, I hadn't put a whole lot of focus on that, but I tell you that, in my studio, I've got over $20,000 invested, and I couldn't do that overnight, so there was kind of like a work in progress. It's probably about 10 years worth of equipment, and I'm sure, Patrick, that studio equipment can get pretty
Oh,
costly. You
very.
So, it's it's I just have to keep that up, and I'm not trying to get rich off of YouTube by any means. but I would like to get to the point to where, this can be like my full-time job, you know, if
Sure.
if that's, and I probably wouldn't call it a job at that point. It's kind of like more of what I really enjoy doing. A
Nice.
little more flexibility, a little more freedom. We can set the times, that we want to go on there. If we want to go live, or if we want to sit back and work on some a project or something like that. But I am fully monetized. And I hope you guys, at the minimum, come over and join the Motion family, subscribe to the channel. And I'll definitely come back and visit you guys. And we'll just grow together.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great way for us to end tonight. I want to give thanks to a very like I said before this at the beginning of the show. I told you that the chat is on fire. And here they proved me right again. Thank you guys so much. You guys make me look like a genius. This has been an awesome interview. I want to thank you, Emotion, for showing up. You guys in the chat, you guys have been fire. Thank you guys so much for that. And thank you for staying. That's really important to my channel. The longer you stay, the more it helps my views and helps me out. I do got to tell. I didn't get a chance to do this, but I will do it now. I'll let you know what's coming on the rest of the channel for the rest of the week, because we got some great guests coming on. This is a fun week for me. So tomorrow night we have actor screenwriter Richard Scott will be here. He has won several awards for his writing, and he is going to be taking one of his scripts that has won many awards, and he's taking it to production. He's going to make a movie out of one of his original scripts. So we'll be talking to him tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. On Thursday, the 26th, one of our own returns to us, Sean Jackson from Lost in the Rio, part of the Cinema Squad. He's going to come over, and we are going to talk film. I've been looking forward to this a long time. Sean is definitely a very well respected and and loved member of our community, film community. He is oh boy, I thought we escaped that. Al or Bones, you're all over that. Um, so he'll be here tomorrow night, on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. And then on Friday, on the 27th, we have two shows. On 3:30 p.m., I'll be joined by filmmaker Joe O'Connell, and he'll be here. My special co-host, Mr. Flickster. He will be here to co-host the show with me at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Mr. Flickster is a new member of our community, so he is coming up to hang out with us, and you guys can meet him on the show. And then that night, Friday night at 8 o'clock, I am hosting the cast and creators of a radio drama. That's right, a radio drama show. You don't hear about those very often anymore, but it's called St. Mary's School for the Children of the Stigmata, and the cast and the creators will be here on 8 p.m. on Friday. So there'll be like 6 or 7 ladies plus myself, and we will be talking about radio drama. And I cannot wait for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, that's it. That's all I got for this week. I will. Oh, and of course, next Sunday, I'll be doing the Friday the 13th remake, reboot, and also IFC Midnight Nights. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right, everybody, we're out of here. Thanks so much. Emotion, stay right where you're at.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.